properly noticed, so it's just an informational meeting. You guys can't vote. We're not going to take any action. It's just to pass information on to the people here in our community. Okay? The idea behind this is the landfill is trying to expand, of course. They've gone through the process of noticing, but they didn't notice everybody in English, or they didn't notice everyone in Spanish. In a lot of the meetings, they didn't have a translator into Spanish. So what the idea is, there might be a way to stop the expansion by saying that the county didn't do the process properly. The only thing that I have to tell you guys is the process they use is the same process they use for all other applicants when they're put through a request for permit. So if we fight this, we're going to have to, us as a community is going to have to sign up and say, we want to file a complaint against the County of Los Angeles. Not against specifically this project, it will be this project, but it's also going to have to be against the procedure that's being used too. Because the procedure is faulty, because that's what they're continually using. So it's not as small of a battle as you may think it is. It could be a very large battle. The trade-offs on this are going to be a couple things. One is, you know, right now we have a landfill committee. Landfill committee is trying to negotiate with the landfill on mitigation fees. And what the mitigation fees are basically, it's either money's going to go to the county or we're trying to get our share of it directly. It has nothing to do, and all these rumors that are going about, it has to do with the expansion. We're approving the expansion. We are not approving the expansion. We've said it at many of our meetings. All this is just to say, if the expansion goes through, don't send the money to the county, send it here. If we sign this, I think it's going to throw away our right to do that. Okay? So that's one thing. The second thing is, right now we're working with the county on mitigations or different things that they're allowed, I shouldn't say mitigation, but things they're allowed to do and things that they will not be allowed to do under the permit. For instance, the amount of trash that's taken in, what kind of trash is taken in, green waste, the rocket ion waste, all this other stuff the landfill's planning to take in, we're trying to get the county to say no to it. If we go after the county, I think we're going to throw away that chance too. So those are things we have to balance out. That's why I wanted everybody to be here. Actually, it was supposed to be, they were going to present to our board, and our board was going to decide, do we want to go further with this? And if we didn't want to go further with it, then that group could actually go to the community and say, there's another way we can fight this. And the community can choose to do it. So now everybody's pulled into it. Our board, as you can see, it's half of our board's here, 5 people, which at least 5 people showed up for this. But there's a lot of upset people. A lot of things going around. I don't know how the flyer got out here. It wasn't supposed to be out here. Everybody who came, thank you for coming. If we do agree to go further with this, you guys are going to have to come out again and choose.
Whoa! I didn't do it.
The light bulb.
Oh
my God.
So if we decide that we'd like to go further with this, then we'll have to bring the community out, and the community's going to have to decide, do they want to support this complaint against the county. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. We have about an hour to do this, or 45 minutes to do this, so if you guys have questions, while she's fixing this, I'll go over the questions, but then we got to go to the presentation. I'm sorry? Sure, go ahead. Okay. You may not care, but the other thing is people who own houses here may not have things that are permitted properly. Go after them.
They should be permitted properly. Why should maybe a lot of other people who don't want it have to give up because somebody wants to do something illegal? I'm sorry, they want to be illegal, then that's the consequences go to them.
And you could say that, and that's a good point, but a lot of people bought property that was not permitted right. And I've gone to a meeting at the Department of Regional Planning, and there was a lady there that bought a house, and sometime in the 30s, somebody did something wrong, unpermitted. And I don't know why the hell the county was going after him, but the county went after him, so somebody must have said something. They would not let her out, she had to tear down what she did. It's been there for 80 years. So when the county wants to screw with you, they're going to screw with you. But if you guys want to do that, there's another choice. If our VVCA says no to it, you guys can also form your own group, which may even have more bite than you guys can do it. I think they got to be you had a question next.
I wanted to, you said at the beginning that if you
information away from our community and decide for us.
Okay, because we really shouldn't be talking about this right now. This is not a VVCA purpose. We're going above and beyond to say, we'll look at this. But really, that's not in our bylaws. It's never been done before. We really shouldn't be talking about this.
But you signed the contract, not you personally, but in '97, and you're talking about signing another one.
No, it's not. The contract with the expansion,
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with signing this.
I think that's worse. I think the expansion agreement to take is worse than the signing of the complaint.
But the other point, okay, I'm going to agree with that, right? If that's your point, then what we should do is we should take our landfills, we should take our landfill committee, we should throw out the trash in all landfills, say, we can't negotiate with you, the money's all going to go to the county. What do you think is going to happen to us on the board?
That's not the case, Greg.
But it is the
Actually,
case,
the more,
because
the more you challenge them, the more you will probably get, because they want,
I agree.
the more you stand up to them, the more likely you are to be able to make it.
we have stood up to the landfill for years, and where do we go? No, this is about the landfill expansion.
No, it's
Signing
not.
an agreement.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
there was-
Please, you're
I
not.
have the floor.
We are but we are presenting. You're talking about our presentation, Greg.
Eric asked me a question, or Abigail asked me a question about the money. We're talking about the money here. We're not talking about anything else. That was your question, right?
No, my statement is that I feel if the VVCA can sign an agreement with the landfill that agrees to a certain amount of money that this community will get as a benefit while they expand, and if they have the power to sign that, where you're saying that they don't really have the power to sign a complaint against the county because they have procedures that are incorrect for everyone, let alone the fact that now you discovered it is wrong for our 57–58% of Hispanic people that are not being able to understand this here. I don't understand how you can sign one contract but can't even sign a lousy complaint.
Because it's a contract. There's precedence. It's been done before.
And it shouldn't have been.
Can I chime in just real quickly? And correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of the landfill agreement, it's going to go before the community. We're going to present it to the community, and the community will say, hey, we want to sign off on it, or we want you guys to sign off on that, or we don't want you to sign off on that. Does that make sense? So
Yes, but last time, as I understand it, it didn't. And Ruth Griffin signed it on her own.
we're not.
So if we're
we're not.
talking about
We're not
precedence.
Ruth Griffin.
But we're not.
But we're talking about precedence.
Okay, but can you give us the benefit of the doubt? We're not. This is not. That's not what we're going to do.
And Abigail, at this time, at all these meetings, whenever Ramon gives his presentation about the landfill committee, he always says, if this is going to go before the community. If the community tells us no, we're not going to sign the agreement.
Now,
We're going to see the agreement, and that's how we're going to do it. We've been promising this since day one.
One other real quick thing because I had a chance to talk with Jeremiah. I feel that this could be an opportunity to just have an open discussion and figure out what the next best steps would be. Because I do see personally to take a step away from the VVCA, I personally see that this should be treated the exact same way as the agreement would be, which is we take this presentation to our community, everyone expresses their opinions, their pros, their cons, their whatever, and then we vote. Does the community say that we should sign off on this or not? You know,
And I agree with you, but he's saying he may not present it to the community because you guys are going to
I just said I took my VVCA.
Okay,
Just
then we agree.
Okay, but because Abigail, we still don't know if we want to go this far with it. We don't want to, this is going above and beyond what we normally do. And there's people on this board that can get really hurt by this. So that's the whole thing. What you guys are asking, what you guys are asking is for all of you guys to hide behind the shield of the VVCA.
I'll sign it then. I'd rather somebody step down and let me be on board.
It's not being on the board. Is the other option is, there's another, you guys can form your own group.
This is our group.
Hold on. This is a group to pass information back and forth. That's what we do. That's what the VVCA is. We don't have powers. We have no legislative powers. We have no right to do anything. Our hands are tied.
We can't touch it.
So that's where I'll take. Go ahead.
My name is Barbara Marshall. I've lived here for 42 years and I was on the city association board at the time when we bought the dump. And we've had translators here every
somewhere down the line, someone lost the equipment. Okay? If you want us to buy the equipment, you guys donate some money because we have $230 in our account.
Everybody sign in?
So, go ahead, Vince.
But putting that aside, you talk about the community vote. How are we going to get the word out to the 600, 700 houses that are here? In other words, you know, the website is set up and all that. It's roughly about 25% of the community captured. What about the other 75% of residents? How are you going to get the word door to door?
Okay, basically, in the bottom line, and the honest truth about this is they're probably never going to come to the meeting. So they'll put flyers out, they never show up to our meetings anyway, so they're going to be silent, they're not going to get a vote. And they probably won't come. I never see them.
I think we can
But they'll
get
be notified.
one person from each street to go to every house on the street and hand flyers out.
They're going to hand the flyers out. But the problem is people get these flyers and what do? They look at it and they say this is important to me to go, or
But somewhere in there, it needs to be stated that, you know, if you're concerned about your property value and your health and health of your children, then, you know, they've got to know why. If they just see something that says, you know, yeah, come to me about an iPhone, but they don't realize that it's hurting them, you know? So, you know, when it comes to, we've got to explain to them, all of this paper, your property value is going to plummet. Your health is going to deteriorate, you know?
okay, but the other side of it is my next door neighbor, he's on the board, and I talked to him about stuff. I talked to his brother, the family members, and you know what they tell me? We're sick and tired of this landfill stuff. We just want it to end. And what they tell me also, you got to remember, they lived here for 40, 50 years.
Well, where is he?
Let him come to the meeting because you know why he's not coming? Because he's really pissed off at the way that someone put a notice up on him without keeping contact with us. Because this wasn't supposed to be a public meeting today. This was going to be a meeting for the board to decide if we're going to do anything about it. If we're not going to, then let somebody else have a meeting. So now,
But I thought you said you were gonna hear from the community before you voted, so why are you
We
concerned
didn't.
about somebody putting it on the flyer?
don't put words in my mouth. When I left Sarah's house, when you left Sarah's
Oh,
house,
no, I'm saying just tonight you said that.
when we
You
left
just said
Sarah's
tonight
house,
that you were gonna allow people to have input in this.
that's right. After our board agrees, do we want to do this or not? Because it's our board that's on the line. So we have to decide, do we want to do this? Is it something we want to do, or should somebody else take the lead on it?
Well, normally when you're representing a community, you listen to what the community is, they were the ones.
Yeah, but that's not right. You can't say that. And that's what gets me really upset about this. Everybody here, would you like to pay zero taxes? What would you like? Would you like no income tax, no property tax?
I'm going to another state.
Would you guys?
Are you for the dump or against the dump?
That's not, you're speaking out of turn. Would everybody like to have
Are you
no
for
taxes? Would everybody like to have no taxes?
Okay, I would like to have a
Okay, so guess what? I can send all the letters I want to the county. It's not going to do any good. It's my job as the leader of the community to say that's a bad letter to send out. It's going to cause enemies. I'm not sending it out.
Can I just read off of the bylaws for the VVCA?
Eric, you're out of turn.
No, I'm here to present. Am I gonna get to present? We're having a discussion about something that we haven't even talked about, Greg. We haven't even had a chance to present the complaint to these people.
Because you know why? Because someone screwed up and they went out and they blasted all this stuff and this is all over the internet and everything
Why does
else,
that make
and
a
it was
difference,
dumb.
Greg? We
Because
still are
there's
here
bad
to
information
present.
out there, and that's why.
What bad information? I'm about to give them the
Because
information.
the people here came here because they believed that we were going to make a decision without.
No,
without
I don't
the
think so. I do not think
It's
so.
all over next door.
Oh, I wonder who put it there, Greg. Would you guys
Wait,
like to know what we're
wait,
talking
wait,
about?
wait.
Raise your hand if you're ready to know what we're talking about.
There we go. Let's do it.
I'm the one who posted it, okay? Everybody, I'm the one who posted it.
So Susie,
Okay.
wait.
Because I was under the impression that she was gonna present this to us.
So who told you that? And when?
Really?
Who and when? I would like to know. Who and when?
You did.
Good. I told you
Yes,
that this is going to be presented to the entire
Yes.
community.
yes.
And when did I tell you that?
You were the exact date, it was a Monday night at Sarah's house.
Okay, and what changed since then?
I heard nothing.
I don't think this is
So
really
you-
pertinent to our
it's-
conversation, Greg.
Yes, it is.
They're here.
No, it is very
and present, because it's already 7:30.
I second. I don't want to waste your time.
All in favor?
Okay. I think you guys are not good.
Steve, you cannot ask for a vote.
Okay, then you ask for the vote.
I'm not gonna ask for the vote. I'm gonna let them present
Okay,
if they
thank
want
you.
to, but I'm not gonna ask for it. And Steve, next time you do that, I'm gonna ask you to leave.
Greg, the next time you send me a letter privately telling me that my boyfriend might get deported if I support this, you're out of order. As a president, you're trying to sway my vote, and I don't like that. And I have an email. You cannot threaten that my boyfriend is deported. You cannot threaten my boyfriend deported. I have to vote on what's best for the community, not what is best for me and my boyfriend. You cannot, and my husband, by the way.
Because you should look into that, because we are volunteers here.
We are volunteers, and I am here to volunteer for my community, Greg. I am tired of you behind the scenes getting us to sway somewhere. You cannot do that.
Guys, this is not productive. This is not.
Steve, I'm gonna tell you what. You could get, Arturo could get deported.
Then let it happen.
Because
Because
you know
we're
what did George just say? If you're here illegal, if you're doing illegal stuff, what did you just say? What did you say, George?
Can we please get on the
George, what did you just say?
I know for a fact that it would be a violation of the
Right, so what did
county
George
reporting.
just tell you, Steve?
It's a violation of the county reporting, and I know that as a fact.
Can we do the presentation? Can we let the person please go for just 1 second?
Okay.
They came here
Erica?
to present, so let's go with that. Thank you.
Real quickly, we do have a couple of copies of the summary of the complaint. We handed them out to the members. We would like to have them back because if this is not going to go forward, we wouldn't like this to end up in the hands of somebody that, you know.
We are not the only group that is signing this. The BBC, this is not the only group that's signing this.
So if you want one, they're in this red folder. It's kind of long, but you know. Okay, so real quickly, just for the record, did anyone come here to stop the VVCA from making a private vote on something? Was that your impression of the meeting? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. I'm sorry?
Does anybody need a
Does anyone need a
translator?
translator?
We have one.
How about Smith?
Wait, Diego, can you ask if anybody needs a translator? Okay, all right. Good job.
Okay, so do you want me to start?
You go.
Okay.
Go.
So this is something that's been kind of, I'll just kind of say. Is that clear? As we're working on this complaint, this is something that a few different community members have been working on. We feel that the Latino community in this area has been long discriminated against, sometimes intentionally, by the county and the landfill and how they've run their business in the past and in the present in their expansion plans. First off, I want to let you know this is not a lawsuit. We are not suing anybody. This is a complaint that will get filed with the state and with the county as well, and the state will look at our reasoning and stuff, and the federal government part of the state, everybody that is funding LA County will be looking at this and figuring out if they want to take any action on it. That is what is happening if we were to file this thing. Is that clear? Okay.
Basically, we're blowing the whistle on them for discriminating against our neighbors.
Okay, so really this is just going through, I tried to summarize as best I could. I know it's still a little bit long, but just summarizing some of the things that we brought up in the complaint, that it is a complaint between possibly the VVCA, SCOPE, which is the Santa Cruz Organization for Planning and the Environment. They have decided to sign on. They've helped us research and help put this together as well.
We will get support letters also from Green Action and possibly the California Coalition for Environmental Justice as well.
And we are looking for the community support. We thought we would bring this to the community to see if you guys would be interested in this. As our immediate representatives, we wanted the VVCA to sign on if they would be willing to do so. So basically it's just a civil rights complaint under the section 11135 of the California Government Code. It basically says that you cannot discriminate on the basis of race. in the denial of opportunities to participate, refusal to provide alternative communication services, non-enforcement of mitigations and environmental laws intended to lessen the adverse environmental impacts on the minority population here. So there's a little summary of the law. The complainants would be pending approval of the VVCA, the Coalition for Environmental Justice and Scope, and the respondent would be the County of Los Angeles. That is who we are filing the complaint against. And for under the, Section 5 ripeness, that is basically why this is an urgent matter for them to look at, and why we think that the complaint is an urgent matter to look into. So I have a lot of bullet points there. You know, we've repeatedly asked the Board of Supervisors of the county and tried to put out there that none of the, like Greg said, their policies do not translate anything into Spanish. We believe in this case that it is not just this one case, but it is a big case that in this community, a majority of people are not able to fully participate in what's going on. They were not able to, unless they found some really great translating abilities, to participate in the environmental impact report draft comment period. We feel that,
I also want to add that all the notifications that we received, if you guys remember, you got them in the mail. The only section that was in Spanish said, "For more information, call this number." That was the only part of those flyers that was in Spanish. So if you didn't speak English, you didn't know what you were calling about. Sorry, if you didn't speak English, you wouldn't know what you were calling about.
And so yeah, it wouldn't even tell you what it was in reference to. It would just say, "For more information, call here."
And I think we all understand how people of this community to leave them out of that.
So we also have some bullet points about the lack of air quality monitors, which are supposed to be overseen by the VVCA, which is overseen by the county, and the county has not stepped in to crack that into shape. There have been no local air quality surveys or monitors in the Valverde community for quite some time. There are other projects. Yes?
Why are you including that in the complaint about the lack of...
Well, what we're trying to do is to show that their intentional, there lacks enforcement in a community that is being hurt by this complaint, or by this landfill. So we want to give them as many reasons to look into it as possible. We believe that some of these things are institutional, that a lot of the planning stages of certain things are used to move or used against communities that have not the willpower nor the backbone to fight.
It does seem like it eludes the pointedness of the complaint by making it so broad and giving them room to debate you on a subject that they don't really, this is a judgment as opposed to the law. I think the fact that they are not allowing communication with the community, there's a lot of precedent, number one, and also there are statutes about their obligation to produce materials in multiple languages.
Actually, it's in their permit that they are supposed to provide air monitoring
But
equipment.
you might want to break it into more than one complaint.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's
There
a
should
good
be
idea.
some complaints about that part.
Okay, well, we can look into that.
Well, Lynn has experience in this. Lynn, would you?
I'm not disagreeing with the idea of bringing that to their attention, but all I'm saying is that if you look like you've got more bullets in your gun rather than just one, then I think that would be a stronger position.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't know what the bullet is, you're fishing.
No, I agree, but
And so it's important to put all of this in there. And it's very difficult to do this first time, to file multiple complaints.
is that because of the community position?
No, it's not because of the community position, it's because it's to back up all the information and to get it to the right people and get it properly served on them is a lot of work. And it's better to bring the issues all up at once, and then if they're not interested in one part, maybe they'll be interested in another.
vested interest as a community. In our belief, we voted against any sort of landfill expansion if we could help it, and I know that they are in negotiations with the landfill to get the best deal that they can get, and that is something that they want to play their safety in case they have pledged to fight the landfill expansion as much as they can, and if it's going to go through, they want to make a deal, the best deal that we can get. And I understand how that pulls the board in two different directions. But as normal, regular community members with no real power vested in us, we want to fight this as much as we can. And we find that this is a way that we can do that. Whether or not the VVCA joins us is what's up for discussion.
And we also want to, sorry to interrupt, we also want to bring up the fact that this fight happened in '97, right? So this has been a fight that's been going on for decades. And this is the first, this is our chance to bring it to the state level and to the federal level. Now, it's up to them to decide what to do, but this is us at least exerting some strength and some power against just laying over, instead of just...
Toxic racism was the central theme, and that there was a well-represented Hispanic community.
Right, we did.
And translators and multimedia presentations. And unfortunately, the committee that they sent out to talk had no authority other than to make a recommendation, but not to actually approve the deal was done after that.
And there was a was it a lawsuit? I think there was a lawsuit. What?
It was clean water action.
There was a Hispanic group. Yeah, there was a Hispanic group. Yes, yeah, and the suit wasn't decided at that point. They ran out of funding, and that's where it stopped.
I have a question, are you guys sure about that? Because there's all kinds of different rumors around that they did get paid off by the landfill.
That was from the LA Times article. So,
does anybody here know why they stopped, that La Luce group stopped? Does anybody know on that group?
Okay, so we'll continue.
Just to piggyback on that slightly, and it is very we are in very similar circumstances right now as we were in 1997. There's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of old faces. It's an interesting mix of people. My belief is that this community has gained mitigation funds from the landfill and has become so entrenched with keeping them and feeling that we can't do anything if we do not have them, that we need to start looking at options for the future. I think that the meeting is over. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
Is there a lamp or anything?
Yes. Sorry. A nice romantic note. I feel like this is definitely a point in time where the community really needs to consider the alternatives to what is going to happen when this landfill does eventually close. I think if the expansion goes through, the funding comes at us at a bigger rate, and no matter what, I think it starts at a bigger rate than we're already getting, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's going to be an even longer, harder fight to figure out how to fund our community without the landfill funds coming, because once it shuts down, we're going to have the toxic effects of the landfill for another 50, 60, 70 years, even though it's buried under dirt, and we're not going to have funding anymore. I think that we need to figure out how we can stop this as soon as we can and look at alternatives to things. And we've mentioned here in a couple of places that there are things that our CBFC, which is our funding committee from the landfill, they give the money to the CBFC and they pay for programs here. There are things that they are paying for that normally the county would pay for in any other situation. So the county enjoys the fact that they don't have to pay for certain programs here. And so I think that's something that we should be looking into as a community, and I feel like that's just my opinion from that. So I feel like it's time to stop arguing over, you know, what kind of bread we're going to get on our shit sandwich. Like, this is all about figuring out how to become self-sufficient without the landfill, because it is not worth it, in my mind. It is not worth it when everybody out here is seeing the health effects when it doubles in size, and what kind of things come down are paling any sort of funding that we can get from the landfill, even if it is double the size. So moving on, I'll just jump ahead a little bit. So the County of Los Angeles funds, or the State of California funds the County of Los Angeles to the tune of about $5 billion a year, which is why we are sending a complaint to them. They can effectively put a halt to a lot of things until these demands have been met if they choose to pick up the complaint. Oh, thank you. So we detail who Chiquita Canyon Landfill is. You're all familiar with that, and who Valverde is. And that our town is 67.8% Hispanic or Latino. And I believe it's about 54% speak Spanish in the home. So that is a majority of the community speaking Spanish in the home. So, and, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the, trying to keep up with me. I'm in the statement of facts,
Right there.
number B. Right there, or letter B, sorry, not number. We talked about the air quality a little bit. The fact that the DEIR used faulty census numbers. Well, they used old census numbers from 2010 and only counted the minority population of the whole of Los Angeles County as the basis for whether or not we needed any sort of mitigations for the effects of the landfill. Their reasoning was that there's since all the trash is coming from all over LA County, they should count all of LA County's residents as people that benefit from it. So that was easy to, because the whole of Los Angeles County has much less of a percentage of the Latino community than we currently do. So I think that really tilts things in their favor. Let's see, the AQMD inspector, as some of you may know, lives about 45 minutes away and is often unable to come or in a timely manner to pick up on air quality complaints. And let's see, I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here because there's a lot to cover.
Can you talk about the agreement?
Oh, and there was an agreement signed in 1997, which we've talked about a lot in this area, in these meetings, about the landfill in their current conditional use permit promising to close November 23rd, 2019, or at 23 million tons, which is definitely going to happen soon from what we've heard, the tonnage rather than the date, and that is why they are trying to push this expansion through as quickly as possible before they reach that limit.
And the county's involved with that because it's recognized in the current use permit. So the county, by allowing this project, this proposal to come forward, sets us, we've been outreaching. So they're already allowing this proposal to come forward, and it breaches the contract that's included in the conditional use permit. And so that's why this is included in the county complaint.
And so we feel that the in letter D there, I'm looking at disparate and negative impact of the permit and landfill expansion. We feel like it would intensify the problems that we're already having here, which in this disproportionately or majority Latino community, it needs to be addressed. That adds urgency to this. The expansion would allow for a household hazardous waste facility and the use of water treatment sludge for ground cover, which is prohibited by their current CUP and threatens the health and property values of Valverde as well. Letter D. Back up a little bit. That's
Go down.
C. Here, go down, back down. Right there.
There you go.
Did someone get deleted something?
I think so.
I think you did. The air quality sampling and data towers closest one is in Newhall, and then Reseda and Burbank. Those are the closest air monitoring stations for the air that comes out of Chiquita Canyon landfill. That's a concern as well. They do not measure for hydrogen sulfide or vinyl chloride.
Which have similar symptoms than a lot of people have been sharing in their public testimony at the meetings that we've been at. Feeling nauseous, headaches,
dizziness,
waking up in the middle of the night, feeling like they're being choked. Those are common symptoms of hydrogen chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride, sorry. Hydrogen sulfide, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm learning.
See. The statement of agreements with the landfill says that we are not allowed to use any of our funding from the landfill to conduct any sort of health study or use any money for health care in any way that might besmirch the name of the landfill, which, you know, would be another good thing that we could put the money to use for. Some of you may know who Raul Lajano is. He has personally studied the impact of Chiquita Canyon landfill and on Valverde. And to quote him, he says that cancer risks to residents due to the landfill are estimated to be as high as 1,000 in a million, significantly higher than the federal guideline of 1 in a million. And the DEIR air quality chapter, if you look in the DEIR, contradicts this earlier finding and calculates the risk of 100 in a million. So even though they're way above the federal limit, Raul Lajano says it's even worse than what they're saying in the DEIR. So the Latino population would be disproportionately affected by that because of the concentration in Valverde. I'm on letter E now. They've had a history of fighting expansions around here based on racial overtones there. The black community in 1972, when the landfill was built, fought this as well under the same kinds of tactics here. During the 1997, we talked about this, the Lucha group and stuff, also put up a fight as well. The LA County policy allows for the landfill to write their own, use their own consultants to write their environmental reviews on behalf of the county, which increases the likelihood that, you know, chicanery is going to happen there. They have had 18 years since the last expansion and have not considered any new sources for the waste disposal. We feel that that is because they want to expand here. It's already happening. It's going to save them a little money at the expense of our community. There could be additional pressure coming from other projects, such as the LAX specific plan amendment, the Boyle Heights mixed-use community project, and the 100 West Walnut project in Pasadena, whose cite their waste needs could be fulfilled by a Chiquita Canyon expansion. So there's an assumption in some other projects in the pipeline that Chiquita Canyon would expand, and they're already putting it in their planning documents as well. So that internally could pressure the Board of Regional Planning to get this through so all these other projects aren't held up.
Find their opponents.
What's that?
We need to find their opponents to become more allies.
Well, I mean, you know, the more the merrier, honestly, at this point. Not trying to speed it up. On Chapter 16 of the DEIR, I'm on letter F now, they found that our community is not applicable for the environmental justice protections, which we believe is very, very wrong. Using the census data that we talked about before, I covered that. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
You know how they did that? How did they actually justify saying we didn't have an environmental justice issue?
Well, they talked about how they counted the whole county. Since the landfill gets trash from all over the county, that they could count the whole county as the demographics for. So they all enjoyed dumping their trash and whatnot, but we have to put up with the smell.
They scaled our population and our numbers to all of LA County. If you would have done it to Castaic,
Latino residents. Some of them are not even aware. There are communities that are within 3 miles of this place that have never heard of the project as well. I think Valverde was the only community that was notified of the expansion in the mail and whatnot.
We have people from Live Oak that can confirm that.
Yeah,
Like,
they
I've
never
not
got
received any sort of notification in Castaic or Live Oak or Castle Hills.
And we've been to the Board of Supervisors a couple of times to ask for the Spanish translation, to consider that, to also call for another public hearing in which the regional planning commissioners would be present, because the one hearing that we did get did not have any planning commissioners present. They were recording and transcribing the event for them to read, which I understand is also a common procedure, but I believe is not just in making a good decision.
They've only started that in the last year.
They've only started that in the last year, Lynn said, so.
Maybe just special for you, there was no other problem.
Maybe we were the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the spear there. And so if we do not get another hearing in the draft phase of the EIR, once the final EIR comes out, and what we've heard it maybe as early as June, we will only have 10 days to make comments on the final EIR, and honestly probably won't make much of a difference in changing anything in the final EIR, though we will obviously try to do as much as we can if it gets approved.
Which is actually another reason why we're trying to just get all our bullets out there, because we don't know how much time we'll have. Because to bring this forward to you guys to vote on each complaint probably would take longer than that.
Did you guys ever, if I could, did you guys ever consider two? One that is strictly the demographic one, and then the second one that is absolutely everything else that you're throwing at the wall and seeing if it can stick?
Well, you know,
Yeah, we'll take that into
if we can physically find the time, I mean, it's been a very tough road to even get to this point. We've had community members, you know, lose their minds over this, and we've lost our minds over this. So we wanna get this figured out as much as we can, but if it's all on what's physically possible at this point. So there are failures to address the concerns of the community continuing there. The CAC board at one point did not notify the public of a violation of sludge that you all may have heard about in 2012. The CAC board has since become a little bit less landfill leaning, in my belief, but at the time they publicly were defending the acceptance of the sludge, allowing John Musella, the public representative of the landfill, to compose a draft for them of an FAQ about the sludge incident, which remains on their website to this day. Okay, should I wrap it up? Well, why don't we just go if there's any other questions? There's other things that we've done in here. There's the last page and a half is remedies, which are detailing our suggestions for remedies to the situation. You can look over those. Suspending the draft environmental impact report is one of them. Instructing the county to hold a hearing and address the concerns of the community, and all sorts of things that we've come up with. So, are there any other questions about what we're trying to? There's a lot to go over
Before we
here.
take questions, guys, we have 5 minutes, so.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
5 minutes. Oh, for questions. I see.
I just want to suggest that
Okay,
everybody
let's put the lights
get a copy of this, write your name down, and get one of you.
I'm sorry? A copy of
Got a
this?
copy? Yeah.
Well, I'd really like to go over with any of you. At this point, it is still supposedly a little bit hush-hush, though I feel like now everybody in the county and the landfill probably knows about what we're doing. I will assume nothing has been kept secret, but if we can, we would like to try and keep this as hush-hush as we can until we do get it out there and get it into the press and whatnot. And I know that the VVCA's main problem with this whole thing was that they might be retaliated against if it were to be in the press. My understanding of a situation like that would be that it actually would help them if the press knew about it, because people might know the story of what's going on. That is my interpretation of events. So getting it out there and bigger would be actually a better chance of not being retaliated against, but that is their decision to make.
And also I just want to speak on the principle of that a lot of this is because people are not getting their voice. They are not even getting a chance to speak their voice. So for us to not include the press is another opportunity for people to not have a voice. If we do submit this to the press and bring it out there, people will know. We've been outreach since September and August. And we have a lot of ground to cover. Local newspapers are not, they are funded a lot by the Chiquita Canyon landfill, so normally their articles don't display this information. So that's where we're coming from, that the press is necessary for this complaint. It's necessary.
A lot of people are concerned that a board member can be sued by the county. Do we have any protections? Is there anybody willing to buy insurance for us?
That's, well, my understanding is that
How?
since the board does not have D&O insurance, they could be sued by the county if they wanted to be, or if they wanted to sue, they would sue them personally. So that is where the worries about.
Wait, hold on, let's let Lynn speak.
Okay.
It could be the landfill.
The landfill could sue them. Anybody could sue them. Okay.
For like slander or something like that? Sorry.
For
Well,
what,
just
on
as
what grounds,
retaliation.
Lynn, would they sue?
Well, you do have to have grounds, and then there's a protection in state law called a slap suit legislation, where if someone goes after you because you brought a legitimate concern to your government, that's called a slap suit. Most attorneys will take that kind of a challenge free of charge because the penalties are 3 times their penalties are really high for doing something like that in the state of California. So there is legal protection for you in doing that. But the other thing is it's not a big deal to buy your insurance, and you should probably go ahead and do that. Hopefully Greg got his quote, so
what is
one
the
thing I'd
quote?
like everyone to understand is, there's rumors again floating around about Tree and how the county goes over his house. Somebody complained, they go kill his animals. I've heard it's true. The people who live down the street over there, they complained about something, the county came in and they said, we're taking your land away from you.
Well, she just said that they would be protected. That's
But
something that's an action, retaliatory
against the
action.
lawsuit, yeah, but how do you prove it? How do you prove that? Because if it's so easy, Lynn, and if it's that easy, go talk to Tree and get him 3 times a day. Go talk to
you have something
people
really
here.
to hide.
There's nothing to hide because you're not.
You've pretty much told everybody that they should be intimidated and hide and not stand.
I'm not saying that. What I'm doing is I'm protecting my board. My board is my responsibility. And if somebody on my board gets sued, if I don't tell them this is what we're going to sign, and you're at risk of being sued for this, or you're at risk of having to tell you that, and I have the floor, please. I have the floor. I have the floor. Lynn, please leave if you're not going to let me say what I need to say. I have the floor. People on my board can get in trouble for this. People on my board work for the county. People on my board may not have a good driver's license. There's a whole bunch of stuff. They have work that's not permitted. George says, well, why don't you be legal? Part of the reason why people live in this community is because they can get underneath the radar. They don't have to get hit by all this stuff. That's why they choose to live here, but that gives the county a chance to pick on them. Why aren't our streets paved? Why do we have potholes all over the place? Where's the Spanish-speaking people here? Why don't they come to my meetings?
They used to do that just because of the color of the people's skin in this community, and we've been fighting for them ever since.
But they don't come to my meetings.
Well, Greg, if you really care about your board, then you should purchase D&O insurance. Because otherwise we won't be able to
Find a way to get money for us.
I'm not the president. You're the president. That should be your job.
So that's my job to find get D&O insurance.
The VVCA is
How about my job is to keep my board from getting in trouble so we don't need D&O insurance?
What? That's protecting the.
You have insurance on your house?
Sure do.
Why do you do that? For protection, right?
because I do have stuff that I have to protect. Okay, there's a lot of stuff, just like you have stuff that you have to protect, just like most people here have stuff they have to protect. One thing that they said at the start, they said it's a whistleblower action. And when we started all this, we sat in the room back here and we were promised that nobody's name was going to be brought up in this. And then that got taken away. This was all planned to be an open meeting for Monday. This was all planned to be an open meeting on Monday. The whole community was going to hear, they were going to tell our board what to do. Until Friday, last minute on Friday, it's thrown at me, oh, we're bringing the media in this. Well,
That was part of the plan from the beginning,
it
right?
was, then your representative misspoke, because when we sat in that room, she said, I can protect everybody.
And the way you do it is an individual declaration for this will be protected. Your information will be protected.
Well, then she misspoke, because at that meeting.
Actually, I'd like to hear his question.
At that meeting, just so everyone here knows, there's no hidden stuff at that meeting. Some people complained, they said, I work for the county, I can't do this. Don't worry, you're protected. That was the exact words that were spoken. So now that gets pulled out from us last minute.
But time out. A lot of the stuff that you're talking about are hypotheticals, okay? But when we get right down to it, is the issue here that if this written complaint is submitted to the county, that your primary concern is that it would jeopardize the compensation from the landfill to the community, and that would have a long-term problem. In other words, that there's a risk. This is what you said at the beginning of the meeting, that you would consider that if the challenge is put to the county, that it would risk the financial well-being of the community which your board is protecting. Is that a fair summary?
That's not the whole thing, but it's
Well, I know it's not the whole thing, but I'm just saying.
But I have to balance out all the pieces, because we're also talking to the county to try to make sure that they don't take in 12 million tons or 12,000 tons a day. We're talking to the county to make sure they don't take in rocket iron and sludge and all that crap. We're also talking to the county to make sure that we're protected, that we're not going to be the dumping ground of LA County.
Okay, but I don't, everything that is in that document is a factual statement, not an issue of opinion, right? In other words, that each of the points that was presented is a factual statement.
I disagree with that. I don't think so. I've read the
then you need to take that more carefully. But my point here is that to confront the county, to tell them that you don't want what they're doing, they're supposed to be helping the community in relationship to a private enterprise that is soliciting their in other words, a permit from the county. The private enterprise is going to the county and saying, we want to do this business. You, the county, give us the opportunity to do that business. The county turns to you, the community, and says, well, what's your issue here? We're gonna adjudicate this where you're gonna get a percentage of their fees, et cetera, we're the county, we're taking the responsible position. So you challenging the county is not the same as you challenging the commercial enterprise. You're going to your representative and saying to them, listen guys, here are the facts, here's our position, take it and follow the rules that are laid out by the state, and if they don't follow those rules, then you have an issue with the county.
Okay,
if they do follow the rules, but they rule against you, then that's another issue. But all this hypothetical about what they can do to you or how they can come and look over your fences, all that stuff is all, just ignore that. That stuff is so low down on the ladder of this issue is a big issue. You're talking millions and millions of dollars that are all over the entire county. There are lawyers, there are people watching this. It's a big deal for you guys to have a very clear and very supportable position in opposition that you present clearly to the county is something that I think that you should take the opportunity and go for it.
But here's the thing, and this is why I want you guys to come to our meetings. We've already written the county a letter. And what do? They just say, well, no big deal.
But this is different, this is going to the state.
But it's the same thing. We've said to the county, we don't think that you're doing this properly. You haven't noticed the Spanish-speaking residents. So they said, let me finish. They said, we have done everything the way we normally do it. We haven't done anything out of the norm. So what this complaint is saying your process is flawed, right?
Well,
Basically,
going
the
to
process
the
is
law.
flawed.
That's one of the
Because-
points, Greg,
because
that's
if-
not the only point of
Because
this
if,
complaint.
it's the only one that's gonna stop it.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're a lawyer and you know those answers.
I don't know that answer, but I'll tell you what, I've been
Then
doing business long enough to know there's no meat in the rest of this. It's garbage. And that's what I was trying to tell you the other day. That's why our board said, drop this down to 6 pages, but you guys said you can't do it.
A legal threat is never 6 pages if it has any content.
And
I
we sat with Greg personally for 8 hours,
8 hours
on Friday,
on Friday.
fixing language that they did not care for and taking things out that they did not want us to complain about. And at the end of the day, when we mentioned the press conference, that's when it became a huge problem.
Lynn spent the whole day filling out D&O insurance application for the VVCA.
And on the flip side of it, remember, on the flip side of this, this is not my paper. I didn't write this, I didn't ask them to do this. They asked me to come. I spent the whole day out of my time. I worked this whole weekend because of this. I had stuff to do. So I took my time, the whole day. I was only supposed to be there for an hour or so. I spent the whole day there, and I've worked with you guys on this. And then you guys have to go putting notices up saying this is a public
We
meeting.
didn't do
Whatever.
that.
I did that.
We did not do that.
I did that, Greg.
Okay, so
Look, they did not do that.
Somebody did it.
I did it.
Okay, you did it. But the bottom line is, it sure looks bad when I tell Jimmy Briano, because you guys told me, oh, it's definitely on for Monday. We definitely want to do this, so we hired a
Until you said
special
we
interpreter.
Until you said
But why didn't
changed
you
the
guys
meeting.
tell us? Why didn't you guys tell us ahead of time?
I have emails that Sarah Siege sent you asking you to come to a press conference that would have been tomorrow if this had gone through. And you replied, no, I can't make it. And then she asked you, can Ramon come instead? And you said, I'll ask him.
That's right, because I didn't know you guys were going to say Val Verde Civic Association across the front of this.
What did you think we were going to say, Greg, the leader of Val Verde?
No, I thought you guys were going to say the community of Val Verde doesn't want this to happen. Not here, look everybody here, coming, look.
That's the
Val Verde
first time
Civic
that we've heard
Association.
that, Greg. That's the first time.
Because Sarah's been telling us that before. You guys are
The
completely
VVCA
protected.
was always a signer on
It
this.
was
The
not.
first draft, the VVCA was on it. I think this is your
Because it was on it, because there was protection on it.
I think that when you're...
Because
Okay,
you're
I don't know. I think the
everyone
facts
on the
getting
board,
mixed up.
How much does the insurance
everyone on
cost?
the board, no, wait, hold on. Everyone on the board,
Yeah, go ahead.
are you guys willing?
I'm willing to take the risk.
You haven't even heard what I have to say. Are you guys willing to put your name on a document?
You don't have to put your name on the document. It's the VVCA.
The
You are
VCA?
signing for it.
It doesn't matter, Erica, because.
Okay, well, explain
Okay, everybody again, we want to screw around with little protocol and everything else. The VVCA has given the document to the county that lists all of your names on it. All your names, your addresses, your phone numbers are all on that document.
And what's at the next meeting, Greg? What's at the next meeting?
What does
An
that have to do
election.
with this? Of course
It's
there's
an election at the next
It
meeting.
doesn't matter. So what are you doing, threatening me?
No, I'm just saying
What does that have
that
to do
these
with
names
this?
that signed it, they don't have to be in office anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And
You're telling
I
people
think,
drop
no,
off
I
so
would
they
like
don't
you
have
to
your name
finish
on
your
the
question. Ask the board if they have an issue signing this as a VVCA.
No, the point is,
Now let Ramon talk.
Let's hear what this gentleman has to say.
So, no, I just think overall in general, I think the communication amongst all of us has been all over the place. In some ways, I was kind of fortunate to have been dealing with business, and so I was traveling literally across the country, but I was catching snippets, and I could see how this thing turned into that thing, turned into this thing. So I think one of the first steps is we're talking about, a complaint, or I think a significant part of this complaint is that the Spanish speaking community has been left out of this negotiation process, or this whole permitting process, not negotiation, but permitting process. And it was very much the VVCA's intent was to push as hard as we could, because honestly that's what it takes these days, to get them to come to this meeting. However, we didn't have that happen because it went back and forth. There's no reason to point blames, and that's just what happened. Moving forward, I think it would be best, because right now we don't have that demographic here. We're speaking on their behalf, and they're not even here to be a part of the process. So I feel that we should have a plan to maybe have, give us some time so that we know, okay, this is the date and time that we're going to do this, and really have an actual vote or whatever we choose to do. But we have to have those that we're trying to protect have to be a part of this discussion.
Right.
I think that's, so I don't think we need to leave here with a vote or this or that. You know, even.
I don't think that was the intention.
No. I'm just trying for absolute clarity. So that's just the first thing. But I also just think in general, like all of us, because there's so many different groups out here. Like I get lost in it. We just have to have some more, like some sort of cohesion. Because Susie, I totally understand where you're coming from. But what happened is you missed a significant part of communication, which was it's public, now it's private, now it's public again. You know what I mean? And it became, you know. So
I understood it to be public.
I know because you obviously missed the piece where we were communicating, okay, this is going to be a private presentation to the board. You know what I mean? So it's not a you, it's not an anybody. It's just it's an us, everyone in this room. We need to have better communication and cohesion. It's like one group's going off doing this thing, one group's going off doing that thing, and we're not together. And then we're yelling at each other, you know, like, and that's not productive. It's not going to get us anywhere except frustrated and angry with each other. So I would just really like us to just be better at communicating what we're trying to do. You know, I believe everyone here has well intentions. I really do. But sometimes the message gets mixed because we're not really communicating, or we're communicating to a select group of people and not, you know. So, so that being said, my other just question. And this may be better suited when we have a larger group, but what are some alternatives to the VVCA signing? Are there other alternatives, other groups? Just out of curiosity, like what is plan B, C?
We have thought about trying to, you know, have our own group sign it. We feel like it'll have more weight if the elected representatives were to sign it. But we also feel like if it does get picked up and our group has signed it and you guys have it, it'll look worse for you. And you won't get retaliated against, I guess, which is good. But we feel like we had, you know, a big turnout in this community when we said we did not want to have this landfill. The money did not matter. I can show you the video. I can make a transcript for you. It's on our website of what that vote was. And I feel like in the spirit of that, we have been trying to hit how we can jam this process up with the landfill expansion in any way possible. And that may seem to some people like it's just throwing things to see what sticks. But you know, our group has been doing a lot of things to try and figure out what we can do. This is the latest thing. It was kind of put in our lap in, you know, an unsatisfactory fashion. C4CCLC.
But the C4CCLC was not originally involved in this. We, as residents, took over for our neighbor who wrote this. And I think that it would be great if we could get the C4CCLC to either sign on or send a support letter. Scope is already signed on to this complaint. They're already there. And they're willing, they've made mention that they're willing to help you guys as well join it. I'm afraid that if the VVCA doesn't sign it, then you actually will be scrutinized. Because it will be public, no matter what.
Also, though, we don't have a presence. We've never signed anything like this, nor do we even get involved in stuff like this.
You actually, in your bylaws, it's part of your bylaws to speak for the people and
To
represent
speak
them.
for them, but not to write a formal complaint against the county.
If that means that you're speaking for the people, this
We've
is discrimination
We've already
against,
written a letter to the county's written a response back.
for what? For since discriminating against this community since the
And
60s?
the other thing, and the other thing is, you know, again, I'm gonna talk about this, but we've never, other than a handful of small meetings, we don't have a Spanish interpreter. We don't hear back from them. We don't know what they're feeling, other than a few people in town that I talked to told me they're sick and tired of this. They want it to go away. That's what they're telling me. They're sick and tired of it.
Greg, can I say something?
It's not saying we want you guys to take away.
Greg, you've said that a bunch. You've said that a bunch.
I have the floor, please. It's not to say that
You're saying the same
the
thing.
community has told us, please take away our YO, please take away our kids' soccer, please take away my kids'
That's
college.
not what's happening,
It
Greg. We
is
can't
happening.
retaliate like that. We are protected.
Okay, so here's the thing. So this was my question to the board. Is the board willing to sign a document, and I'm gonna go through one at a time, it's not a vote, it's your own opinion. Are you willing to sign a document that says, you're gonna, if this doesn't work, right, and may not work, if this doesn't work, no money's gonna go to the community, or we're gonna have to fight for it through the county. And
Greg,
tell me how it's not gonna happen.
how will it happen?
this is, okay, so let's say this fails.
We are a
Let's say-
minority
let's say
community, we're
this-
standing up for ourselves, we are practicing our rights.
Let's say this fails, right? Because we've tried a lot of things and everything has failed.
It won't fail, right?
we try one more thing? If it fails, it fails. It might have
Okay.
failed.
If it fails, we get publicity, we get PR for this, we are standing up for ourselves. This is us saying, we are done being discriminated
Okay,
against.
Erica,
We
do you-
are done
Erica?
being bullied.
Do you need bread day? Do you need all these things that these people who don't have any money have? A neighbor who can barely pay $400 a month.
Right,
rent.
and they should be, don't you think that if this happens, we'll get compensated for years upon years of retaliation from the county, from discrimination,
How
right?
do you get compensated?
Because they will get sued, the county will investigate them. If they find that they've been doing this, which it seems they have, this community will get money.
From the county?
No, well, I don't know, yes, probably from the county, because they're the ones that fault.
So basically
Maybe
now
we
it's
should
turning-
get healthy.
So now it's turning into, we think we're gonna win this.
No, I'm
So
not
we're all-
saying that.
So,
If
you know
we
what,
do
hang
great,
on, you know
But
what,
if
no,
we
wait,
don't,
whoa, whoa,
if you
whoa,
guys-
you
if
guys,
you
no,
need to stop talking.
you need
Let
to,
them
you need
talk.
to, Greg, you
Why
need
don't
to
you
stop.
listen to the community, Greg? Listen to the community instead of putting.
Guys, let somebody else say something.
Because everyone has been interrupting while I had my point. Let me finish my point.
Oh, you know
My
what?
point
You're
is-
always finishing your point. Let somebody else talk.
Wait,
Let someone else
You
talk,
guys,
please.
let me finish my point. You let me finish my point. It's
You never finish it. Let
because
somebody
you
else
guys
say
keep
something.
interrupting me, so stop interrupting me and let me finish my point. My point is, who's going to go to the community, the 1,500 people or 1,200 people who are Spanish speaking only, and tell them, if this doesn't win, I am sorry, but your kids can't come to after school programs. Your kids don't
That's a
come to
civil
soccer.
thing, we can't do that.
The camera at that red light.
Because we have rights as
Okay.
humans, as American
Thank you.
citizens,
Where's
they
the
cannot
funds?
do that.
Where's the funds going to come from?
County funds lots of other communities for this exact thing. Yes.
Can we, there's a comment there, wait, can we?
Terry?
Terry, tell us
Okay.
your ideas.
I think she's done with it.
I would just like to say,
Last
Going
question,
back-
we're done.
going back to the original premise that this gentleman laid out in the beginning about procedural mistakes. My feeling is that this is the way to go. They obviously don't care about our property, they don't care about our health, they don't care about anything, right? But cases are won all the time on technicalities, and I think this is the way to go. Get them on procedural things that they haven't done, that they should have done, little technicalities, things that they've done that, weren't by the book, were against the law. That's the only chance I see of getting anywhere with it. It's legal, and somebody's got to know the legal ins and outs of it.
If the board doesn't want to sign it, and the whole community wants to sign it, is that a fair?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And as individuals, unlike the board who is able, right.
Everybody goes and gets
Yeah,
signed.
I'll explain to you.
I signed a whole bunch of papers last
Yeah.
couple months ago. What happened to that?
Well, if unlike the board who, obviously if the VVCA signs a complaint, they know who's on the VVCA.
Yeah.
Under the submission guidelines for a thing, if you sign a declaration onto this complaint, then you would be protected. Your name would only be allowed to be released if you signed a waiver. So your names would be protected, which is what I think was trying to be communicated with them earlier. That individuals, it wasn't the individuals on the board, it was individuals in the community that were willing to sign a declaration. Because we were really worried, and rightfully so, that the Latino population in this town would be afraid to sign something like that, and that's totally understandable. And so we want to do as much research in protecting them as possible. And we thought that if the VVCA signed it as a board, they would speak for the entire community. Therefore, no specific person in the outward community would be represented by name, which we thought would be a good shortcut, but that is obviously not happening.
We were also going to provide declarations to be a part of this.
Yes, that was part of our.
Tonight, when we were going to have an open meeting to the entire community. And we will at the next
Here's the basic question. You presented the issue that you're going to have your soccer funding pulled because the county's going to retaliate. Okay, landfill, whatever. The idea is that the risk is the soccer funding.
It's the risk is that I have to present to those people.
But at the same time,
that they lose their.
Let him talk.
stop the buy-off, stop the buy-off. That was 1997, this board is not getting bought off. And you guys need to come to the damn meetings, because I'll tell you what, we've gone over this over and over and over again. We are not getting bought off, we're not signing anything that says we have to
Then why not stand up to the county? Why not stand up? Why act as if they're gonna come and retaliate against you?
Because they have in the past, for God's sakes.
Okay.
I don't understand why you care about actually protecting the people that refuse to come here and fight for their soccer money, rather than people who are sitting here
No,
fighting
that's
for their
not
health.
fair. I don't think that's fair, but what I do think is that the community needs to start thinking about, and I think this board needs to start thinking about, the larger picture of the effects that are happening from the landfill, instead of arguing over what kind of deal we can get on soccer uniforms and whatever else. I know that those things are very important to people, and I don't think they should go away. I think they should be studied diligently by this board and figured out. Part of their bylaws is that they should be fundraising every year and figuring out ways to fund these programs where we're not relying on a huge piece of garbage right over the hill that is destroying this community anyway, while we're playing soccer or giving out bread. I love these programs, and I don't benefit from any of them because I have money. I'm a white person with money. Great. But what the problem is that we're making it about things that are very small in the community, that are very good, and they're making it the only way that we can have them is if we make a deal with the landfill. And I don't believe that's true. I think that that's going to be something that this board is going to have to face eventually, and better started now than any time later. If you wait 21 to 38 years, however long the landfill lasts, if it goes through, then you're going to be further entrenched in relying on these funds to fund the community. And I think that is ridiculous. I think that we should be looking at alternatives right now instead of fighting over getting more money from them when we know they're not going to be here forever.
Yes.
Sorry for raising my voice, but
Can I quickly just chime in? Yes. So I agree. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this is, this has been brought up over and over and over, but there's some new faces, quite a few new faces. It's extremely important for people to understand. I'm on the landfill committee, which is trying to negotiate with the actual landfill themselves in terms of mitigation. It is, I can't stress this enough, it's even in our responses that's going to be in the actual term sheet. What we're trying to work on is something if, and literally if, the expansion goes through. We as a VVCA have already listened to the community that voted, whatever it was, 112 to nothing, that they want the landfill shut down. We said, okay, we want it shut down, great. Now, if for some reason we fight, we do this exact same thing, we put in this thing, we still want to have something if we get steamrolled. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make clear, we're not negotiating for the best amount of money, putting this stuff aside. It's like the plan B, That being said, I think we do need to stand up and do everything we can.
That's fine, but it sounds like plan A at times is trying to be slowed down or stopped. That's what the fight here seems.
The night the 112 voted, we let them know that the funds would come to an end. We made that very clear, and they still voted, and that was a majority Latino population.
Yeah. But at the meeting, it was a vote based on what the draft ER said. It wasn't completely shut this thing down.
We don't want a future expansion. It's on video. You used to have it, right? Is it a future expansion?
it's on our website.
It was
We can
either
limit
take
it.
this deal or do we stop it?
That's
He
not what the
said
vote was,
stop.
and that's not what the purpose of that was.
That's how I got it.
That's what I got.
Because we should have had that vote, because at our meeting, we did vote. And for people who didn't come to the meeting, what was voted was the community told us they wanted us to negotiate with Cascade on the landfill expansion. The community told us that. It was unanimous.
I mean, the community came together and said, we don't want you to negotiate on any of the mitigation and just step the hell away from it. That's the majority vote. Honestly, it makes my life a hell of a lot easier.
It makes mine easier.
So, if we want to throw that out there as a vote, why don't we
So how do you propose that vote?
So,
Wait, Gary's head is with that.
If you come to a place where you settle on your wording of this, if you would like, I have an attorney friend that has brought several things before the county and dealt with the county before. And I would be glad to offer it to him to have him look it over if you'd like.
It's going to be legal loopholes and omissions and things they've done wrong that
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the truth. Like, a lot of landfills get shut down because they have an effective, the landfill is too smelly campaign and get a complaint, injunction put against them, and they're shut down.
It's a real quick question. Yeah. You guys have been doing this work here. If anyone else wants to chime in too, what do you feel holds more weight? If we had 200 or 300 people from the community listed as the complainants, or the VVCA?
Well, I think that, personally,
Actually, that might be a question for Lynn.
Hey,
Lynn, there's a question that you might be better
So,
answer.
I'm wondering, which do you feel holds more weight? If there were 300 people in the community that were the complainants on this, or just the VVCA?
Well, I think you were elected by the community, so my personal opinion is important that you sign on to this. But
I guess what makes a better case, a stronger case?
The stronger case would be both of you.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Fair enough.
yeah, sure, or I think it'd be wonderful if 300 people sign on.
No,
There's a solution to this, because, again, Ramon has a plan, we all have a plan B that we're working on. And this will throw our plan B into the toilet. So, are you guys willing?
How can you say that?
Because we have been trying to talk to the landfill, and because
This isn't against the landfill.
it doesn't.
I like how you can predict the future. Like, I like how you can predict.
Because I have been working on this, so quit.
So what's more important, that we
No,
break our
but
deal with the landfill, or we continue to be discriminated against?
Or what's more important?
I see.
What's more important? Taking that, because this is, and I've sent it to my board, you're asking us to go all in. You guys play poker, you're all in at this point. I think that's the dumbest thing to do
This
right
is
now.
a complaint. It is not a lawsuit.
It
It is a
doesn't matter,
complaint.
the VVCA's name's on it. Who's talking to the landfill now? The VVCA. Who's talking to the county to try to get, so 12 million tons of, or 12,000 tons of trash is not dumped in our landfill daily.
I hear the
Who's
community
trying to-
saying that they
No,
would rather us stand a chance and stand up for ourselves, so we actually have a voice, instead of quietly negotiating.
Oh.
That's what I'm hearing. I hear that people are more concerned about their health, and that the fact that their neighbors aren't even getting a chance to be a part of this process with the county. The county, the air monitors, this is beyond the
So
landfill
Eric,
expansion. We're complaining.
were you at the meeting where the community told us to negotiate with Castile and the county that they're okay with it?
I was there for that meeting.
So what are we supposed to do? They told us to do that. They
You
said
know what,
that
I remember the meeting, I remember we got 4 options on a piece
That's
of
right.
paper.
That's
And
right.
none of those was to figure out, we just got the document that night, and you made us vote that night, and we just got that information.
And one of them
I
was,
remember leaving
I don't
feeling
like
very
any,
discriminated.
I don't like any of these choices, I don't want it, and not one person said that.
Was that a choice?
It sure was a choice.
But it wasn't about whether we were voting for the landfill to close or not. That wasn't.
It was telling the landfill committee, do you want them to negotiate? These are what the terms are. We've got to this point, or we can go here, we can go here, we can let it go to the county, or you can tell us, I don't want this stuff.
Well, then I think maybe we
There was
should
a nasty argument with the Salzarulos where they said, don't even negotiate with them whatsoever. Where the board sat there and told them straight out, this isn't about shutting down the landfill, it's only about negotiating, and if we have to negotiate, what it would be.
You're 100%
It was the
right.
Salzarulos, right?
Abigail, you're 100% right, and that's why I'm saying the VVCA, I don't think we should be signing this because this is Plan B. You're taking our Plan B and you're throwing it away.
Everybody wanted Plan A.
Then I would like, I think.
For a small chance of this winning.
I think that you should do this. I think if you are not certain about how this community feels, then you should pose to them. Would you rather we negotiate with the landfill, or would you rather we fight for discrimination against the county for the last, since the 1920s? And see what they say. And see what they say.
Are you willing
Which is going to be it?
So what plan moving forward? How can we make sure to get those that we're trying to speak on behalf of here to be a part of this discussion? And then what do you propose are the next steps we go from there? So I think the first thing is we have to have those they have to be a part of the discussion.
Well,
That's step one.
our original plan was to flyer the entire neighborhood in Spanish and English, and then hold an open meeting, do this presentation that we just did, and hopefully at that point the VVCA would know, be part of the literature or not. We'd have 2 copies basically. We'd have one VVCA was in it, and we would have one that was just scope. And then we would also offer tables where individuals can go. We'd have one table that was in Spanish, or it was for people who are Hispanic, Latino, saying, I am Spanish, I am Latino, this is discrimination against me. And then another table that said, I am not Hispanic and I'm not Latino, and I declare against this for my neighbors. So we were going to cover the whole grounds. And the next morning, we were going to do a press conference on it and announce it and deliver it to Antonivich's office. That was our original idea. So that was going to be presented to the community. Was going to be submitted. Does that answer your question? And yeah, and then it's submitted.
Well,
and then
it is what was supposed to happen, but I'm saying, what do we do?
At this point, we are trying to figure out what our options are, because it feels strongly that this board is going to hold it up for probably another 3 weeks, a month, and we are ever closer to the final EIR hearing, and so we want to get this thing out there. The longer that it's sitting out here, people talking about it, the more people can prepare for it to happen.
So let's flyer the whole town.
Well, I mean, it's my understanding you need at least 10 days to let the community know that we're going to vote.
Is that by law?
yeah,
I believe so, yeah, you need at
unless
least
it's
10
emergency
days.
meetings.
I don't know.
Emergency meetings is excused, but you cannot take action.
So,
Okay, so we couldn't do a vote on emergency.
No.
right, so.
Not for daily bylaws, finally got something.
And also, Ramon, why we switched everything for tonight was because Greg was showing us really strong concerns about this in the publicity, which is, at that point, we said, okay, well, let's talk with your board about it, because at that point, we felt he was really talking for all of you, and we wanted to talk with you. And come to a table where we could collaborate and figure out a way to work with you on this, because we know that if the VVCA is not on it, we're still going to submit it, but if the VVCA is not on it, that doesn't look good for our community. And that's why we wanted to work with you. That's what this is
So,
about.
question, if we made it just a simple notice on next door, would that constitute an initial notice of 10 days?
We're starting.
It starts
Okay,
with
now if we do that, right, and then we couple it with flyering the heck out of the community,
yes.
getting Jimmy Briano involved, because he will bring those people here, he'll get those numbers up. We're talking about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're talking about April 9th, we could actually do this. Well, that's the night of our actual VVCA meeting. So maybe we do it at 6 o'clock, and then at 7 o'clock we have the actual VVCA meeting.
And that's one of my questions. So then if they come at 6 o'clock and the VVCA holds it, we sign in sheets, and then we don't have to vote till our meeting, because then they've attended 2 meetings, and by our bylaws, they have to attend 2 meetings to vote.
No,
Therefore,
they don't. They have to attend it by February. They can't vote.
so then that's just it, because then there's a good technicality, you guys can't vote, but we gave you the presentation.
They can't. Not by our VVC.
We've been here throughout the years, so we
People who
qualify.
have.
Yeah, you guys do, but then you're gonna have to, then are we willing to vote how the community expresses themselves? Because I am. And then I have another question then. If we pull in 112, and by the bylaws, we go to a vote, and let's say the majority rules, and we put in there, the VVCA supports this because the majority of the people voted, and we are stand behind our people. Would they attack the personal members of the board? Because we had a big meeting where they actually voted.
I don't think they're going to attack the personal members of the board.
Well, especially with the big meeting, right? Because we held a
You're
meeting.
going to be attacked. I think you are citizens of the United States. You have a right to stand up. These are the laws. You have a right to bring a complaint under these regulations. The regulations are there so that the public can bring a complaint when there's a problem. There is a problem here. They are discriminating against this community.
So
It's really, really important to stand up.
I think we present the vote as we're checking the majority of the
It's
vote.
not just the community though. This complaint is through the whole county. We're complaining against the county about it.
Good, then this is our best shot.
So
This is our best shot of me not paying more money for medicine. This is my best shot of our children making it to 80. This is my best shot of your grandchildren making it to 80.
Here's another shot. How about another group is formed that really has Spanish-speaking people on it? Because there's not one person on this board that I see that speaks Spanish in their house. No. Chris, you speak Spanish in your house? Really? Your main language is
So
Spanish?
then we form another board and then this board gets some action done after the draft EIR?
We're not, the board is not primarily Spanish.
It doesn't matter
We
if
don't-
you're representing a community
And
that
the
is,
community,
right?
no, the community doesn't, the primarily Spanish-speaking community typically doesn't come to our meetings.
But we just said what we would do to get them there.
A lot of them don't even know about it, that's why.
And Erica, stop that, because I will kick you out of the meeting if you
Oh,
don't
no.
stop. What she
Oh,
did,
no.
are you listening? It's a pretty smart ass comment, so stop it.
We just discussed this, right? We just discussed this. And these, I don't wanna waste any more of
So
these people's
maybe the
time.
best thing is if there's so much passion out there for people to do this because it's their rights that are being violated, why don't they form a group and they can sign it and
Why?
they're going to be
They
Spanish
did
speaking
form a
people.
group, it's you guys.
We're not Spanish speaking
You
people.
don't have to be. What is wrong
We
with
don't
you?
understand the culture, for God's sakes. And they don't come to our meetings. And we don't
I
know
would
how
like to
they
hear
feel.
from other
And they
VVCA
don't know
members.
how I
I feel
feel.
like we've heard your voice a lot
Then
tonight.
with the meeting, it's no, guys, it's 40 minutes over. I think it's time for the meeting to be called. Thank you
Look for
everyone
a
for coming.
notice and look for flyers
Thank
on
you
your
everyone for
doors.
coming.
You want these
Thank
back?
you for coming.
Can I?
You ready to answer any questions you'd like? Step outside.
No, we got no.
If anybody has a copy of the meeting,
Yeah, Gary. I mean, Gary. Yeah. It's funny to come up here. So you guys, the lawyer said. Yes. It's kind of interesting in that. So, the research is open if I give you a call. Sure. So we can talk about that.
Sure, that's fine. No problem, no problem.
No, my.
Hi, Gary.
I can look at it, I know our response. I'd rather be able to not say that.
if anyone wants to help put up chairs, we can get Marty out of here fast.
Okay. The chairs, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll get my.
Erica. Good to see you. Erica.
I'm sorry, but he's afraid to tell the new community that they lost their soccer department and getting the expansion anywhere. Well. And because they don't show up here, they won't show up here. How about the people who do? Why don't you give a shit about us? I'm showing up, and that's what I'm trying to say. I keep coming, and I keep getting told I'm not important. Oh, it's been bad. I was doing that. Started arguing. He started out from the get-go about schools. Then why? Then it became public. And the fact is, bylaws
have to have a place for